From NFL stars' kids who have followed in their father's footsteps on the field, to those who have carved out successful careers in entertainment, to those whose lives have been filled with legal troubles, here's a look at where the children of some NFL greats are today. Kennedy Urlacher. At the top of the list is Kennedy Urlacher, son of Chicago Bears legend Bryant Urlacher. If you know anything about Bryant Urlacher, you know he was a beast on the football field. He played his entire 13-year career with the Bears, becoming one of the most feared defenders in the NFL. Now his son Kennedy Urlacher is following in his father's footsteps and making a name for himself in football. Coming out of Chandler High School in Arizona, Kennedy wasn't the highest-ranked recruit. He was ranked number 61 among safeties in his class and number 14 in Arizona, but he didn't let that stop him from proving himself by signing to Notre Dame. However, Kennedy's childhood was quite messy. In 2017, he was caught in the middle of a legal battle between his divorced parents, Bryant Urlacher and Tina Karageorge. It started in 2016 when Tina's husband, Ryan Karageorge, died by suicide. The next year, Brian filed for temporary custody of Kennedy, arguing that his son wasn't in a safe environment. Tina fought back by filing a $125 million defamation lawsuit against Brian and his associates. She claimed Brian tried to make it look like she was responsible for her husband's death, and that his actions put their son's mental, physical, and emotional health at risk. But this wasn't the first time they had taken each other to court. Back in 2007, when Kennedy was just 2 years old, they had another legal battle over parental visitation rights. The judge eventually ordered both of them to take a 3-hour parenting class. Now, on to another NFL player's son who followed his father's path but had a bit of controversy than him. Max McAffrey. We all know the McAffrey family is practically NFL royalty. Their father, Ed McAffrey, won 3 Super Bowls and made 1 Pro Bowl as a wide receiver. His son, Christian McCaffrey, is now a superstar for the San Francisco 49ers, but his other son, Max McAffrey, football career hasn't exactly gone the same way. Max bounced around the NFL from 2016 to 2019, playing for teams like Oakland Raiders, Green Bay Packers, New Orleans Saints, and San Francisco 49ers. During his time in the NFL, he only played in 6 regular season games and had 1 catch for 4 yards with Jacksonville in 2017. But not only is his career not stable, the McAffrey prodigy has also been involved in a couple of controversies. In 2018, Max was suspended by the NFL for 10 weeks, though the reason was never made public. Even after moving into coaching, controversy followed. As the offensive coordinator at Northern Colorado, Max was officially reprimanded for throwing a broken clipboard into the stands, accidentally hitting a fan in 2021. However, when the university reviewed the incident, officials found that he did not act out of anger. In fact, the university stated that the fan actually requested the broken clipboard as a souvenir, and Max simply handed it over. So, the university ruled the incident as lack of judgment with no malicious intent. Now, onto another guy with an NFL legend for a father, but unlike his dad, he took an entirely messy path. Cortez Hasselig. The son of former Pittsburgh Steelers offensive lineman Carlton Hasselig, Cortez has a NFL legend as a father, but instead of tackling people on the field, Cortez got caught up in a drug ring. In June 2022, police received a tip that Cortez was traveling into the Ligonia area with enough raw fentanyl for 2,500 single doses of the drug with a street value of about $90,000, and arranged a meeting with a confidential informant in the parking lot of a Giant Eagle store in Ligonia Borough. Of course, police acted on the information, and Hasselig was arrested as he tried to flee and was found with 50 grams of the drug and more than $1,600 in cash. Investigators described Hasselig as an upper-level drug dealer and said in court documents that he was a major supplier of fentanyl in Westmoreland County. In 2024, Hasselig appeared in court for what was originally scheduled as a hearing to finalize plans for his trial. Instead, he pleaded guilty to 4 counts as part of a deal with prosecutors, in which 6 additional charges were dismissed. For the 4 counts, he was sentenced to serve 16 years in prison. But the fate of this next NFL star son is even more heartbreaking. Antonio Armstrong Jr. Aside from being an NFL player, Antonio Armstrong seemed to have it all when it comes to life, with a loving marriage and 3 kids. But beneath the surface, cracks had started forming in the weeks leading up to his tragic death. On July 29, 2016, a chilling 911 call came from one of their children, 16-year-old Antonio Armstrong Jr. He told dispatchers he had heard gunshots from his parents' room. When police arrived, they found a horrific scene upstairs. Antonio Sr. and his wife, Dawn, had been shot in their bed, with pillows placed over their heads. Dawn had already succumbed to her injuries, while Antonio Sr. was rushed to the hospital with a single gunshot wound, but doctors couldn't save him. Despite no signs of forced entry, suspicion quickly fell on Armstrong Jr. After hours of police questioning, he was charged with capital murder. But this case would drag on for 7 years and 3 trials before a verdict was finally reached. Now 23 years old, Armstrong Jr. was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 40 years. Turns out that in the months leading up to the murders, the Armstrongs had been struggling with their sons, Armstrong Jr. especially. His mother, Dawn, had accused him in texts of smoking marijuana, drinking, and repeatedly lying to them. Everything eventually came to a head with their murder. Let's move on to an NFL star child with a lighter story, Willis McGee IV. In the 2023 season, one of the first players Nebraska's defensive coaches recruited was Willis McGee IV. If that name sounds familiar, it's because his dad is Willis McGee, the former Miami Hurricanes star running back. Back in 2002, McGee was a Heisman Trophy finalist and a consensus All-American. Even after a serious knee injury in the national championship game, he was still drafted in the first round of the 2003 NFL Draft. He had a 10-year NFL career, made 2 Pro Bowls, and was known as one of the toughest running backs in the league. Fast forward to January 6, 2023, and Nebraska officially offered his son, Willis McGee IV, a scholarship. They weren't just offering him a spot on the team, they had a specific role in mind, the jack linebacker position. This role is a mix of defensive end and linebacker, meaning he would rush the passer, but also drop back in coverage. It was a perfect fit for his skill set. In March 2024, McGee and his dad visited Nebraska for the team's first spring practice. By then, Nebraska was already one of his top 3 choices. The visit made a big impact. Coaches Tony White and Rob Dvoracek even congratulated him on his track performances, showing how closely they had been following his progress. Meanwhile, our next player's son is one who has a darker history compared to his father's. Walter Brista, son of Bubby Brista, who is a former NFL quarterback that played for 15 seasons and won 2 Super Bowls as John Elway's backup. Now, his son's name is making headlines for a different reason. Walter Brista was sentenced to 3 years of probation after a hit-and-run crash that took the life of 44-year-old Jude Jarrow in 2022. The crash happened late at night on October 9, 2022, near LSU. Brista, behind the wheel of a Range Rover, struck Jarrow as he crossed Ben-Hur Road. Instead of stopping, he fled the scene, later spotted driving on Burbank Drive. Jarrow died at the scene, leaving behind 2 daughters and a grieving family. Brista later claimed he didn't realize he had hit a person until the next morning. However, 3 days after the incident, he turned himself in and admitted he knew he struck something, but still chose not to stop or call for help. Facing up to 10 years in prison, Brista accepted a plea deal and was sentenced to probation instead. But the judge didn't let him off easy. His conditions include 250 hours of community service, a $5,000 fine, substance abuse treatment, mental health counseling, and driving courses. He's also required to speak to college students, including LSU's football team, about the dangers of drinking and driving. And if he violates any of these terms, he's going straight to prison for the full sentence. From legal trouble to media influence, this next NFL star's son is making waves in a completely different way. Deion Sanders Jr. He's the son of Deion Sanders and his first wife, Carolyn Chambers, who has carved out a unique role for himself in the world of sports media. Unlike his younger brothers, Shedeur and Shiloh Sanders, who are the sons of Deion's second wife, Pilar Sanders, and play for their father at Colorado, Deion Jr. is providing fans with exclusive, behind-the-scenes content about his father's team through YouTube and other media platforms. A former SMU Mustangs football player, his work has given Colorado a groundbreaking visibility. But while his coverage has been widely enjoyed by fans, it hasn't come without criticism. Former players and critics of the program have described Deion Sanders' coaching approach as feeling more like a reality show, where being comfortable in front of the cameras is part of the culture. Some have suggested that the team's emphasis on media and branding has overshadowed traditional football development. Despite this, Deion Jr. continues to embrace his role, using his platform to defend his father and the program from rumors and controversies. Recently, he stepped in to clear up a misunderstanding surrounding a viral video featuring Michael Irvin, where many believed Irvin had used a racial slur. Deion Jr. quickly shut down the speculation, explaining that Irvin had actually said, "make a block," not what people assumed. His clarification helped stop the backlash. Another controversy arose when a report claimed that Coach Prime forced his players to attend a Lil Wayne concert to support Shedeur Sanders' rap debut. Deion Jr. wasted no time debunking the claim, interviewing players on TikTok who confirmed that the concert was not mandatory and that they faced no consequences for skipping it. Even his father later joked about the incident while addressing some of the players.
And I'm still mad at y'all that didn't go watch Shador. Right. How stupid was that? Good Lord.
Let's move on to another NFL's star prodigy with good record, Santana Wilson. The Texas Longhorns just landed a major talent in their 2024 recruiting class, officially signing Santana Wilson from Desert Mountain High School in Scottsdale, Arizona, during the early signing period in December 2023. Wilson had plenty of options, with schools like Arizona State and Washington showing strong interest. He even took official visits to both, but in the end, the pull of Texas was too strong to ignore, and for good reason. Wilson is a playmaker. During his senior season, he racked up 32 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack, 10 pass breakups, 1 forced fumble, and 3 interceptions. His arrival bolsters an already stacked Longhorns secondary that includes standouts Malik Muhammad and Terrence Brooks. So, what sealed the deal for Wilson is an interview with On3 Sports. He shared that Texas felt like home from the start. He also credited defensive backs coach Terry Joseph for playing a big role in his decision. Now, let's talk about the Wilson name. His dad, Adrian Wilson, is an NFL legend. At 6'3", 230 pounds, he was a 5-time Pro Bowler and a 2009 first-team All-Pro for the Arizona Cardinals. He's also part of the elite 25 sacks, 25 interceptions club. So yeah, big shoes to fill. But don't expect Santana to be weighed down by his father's legacy. At 6'11", 170 pounds, he's still growing and carving out his own path. What he does have in common with his dad is a relentless work ethic. Adrian has instilled the importance of hard work, film study, and staying level-headed in his son. Similar to Adrian, Lawrence Taylor's son also imbibes his father's qualities, but unfortunately, it's horrible ones. Lawrence Taylor Jr. In Taylor's case, it seems like the apple didn't fall far from the tree. Lawrence Taylor Jr., the son of the famous footballer, found himself in deep trouble back in 2013. He was accused of raping a 13-year-old girl and having sexual encounters with another minor a year and a half prior. At the time, LT Jr. was in his early 30s, which is just shocking and appalling. He was charged with statutory and he pleaded guilty to these charges in 2015. As a result, he was sentenced to 30 years in prison, which is a harsh but necessary punishment for such heinous crimes. Now, this isn't the first time the Taylor name has been associated with crimes. His father, Lawrence Taylor, also had his fair share of legal issues. In 2011, the legendary linebacker pleaded guilty to lesser charges after having with an underage. He claimed he thought she was 19, but she was actually only 16. Despite his status as a Hall of Famer, he couldn't escape the consequences and was given offender status. He was considered low risk, but he still had to register as an offender and report any address changes. Unfortunately, it seems like Lawrence Taylor Sr. didn't learn from his mistakes. In 2021, and again in 2024, he was arrested for failing to report his address changes, a requirement for offenders. He was released on bail, but it's a clear indication that he hasn't been fully compliant with the law. Unlike him, Danny Ware was thrown into a lifelong sorrow over his son, Josiah Ware. Danny, the former NFL player, has been carrying the unimaginable pain of losing his 3-year-old son, Josiah Ware, affectionately known as JoJo, since 2016. It all happened in Houston, Texas, when JoJo was out riding his bike with his mother. In a tragic twist of fate, he was struck by a vehicle and later died from his injuries. As if that loss wasn't devastating enough, Ware soon found himself in a legal battle with his estranged wife, Liberty Raouls, over where their son should be laid to rest. At the time of the accident, Raouls had just moved to Houston with their 2 children, having left Ware behind in Georgia. She later filed a temporary restraining order to prevent him from moving JoJo's body back to Atlanta for burial. The court ultimately sided with Raouls, ruling on February 11, 2016, that JoJo would be buried in Houston, where she had started a new life. And it wasn't just about the burial. Court filings also shed light on the struggles Raouls had been facing. She had been raising the kids on her own, dealing with financial difficulties, and had even qualified for food stamps in 2014. Despite those hardships, Raouls had a strong support system. 9 people, including family and friends, wrote letters vouching for her strength and resilience as a mother. At the time of JoJo's passing, the couple also shared a 5-year-old son, and Raouls had a teenage daughter from a previous relationship. But let's move on to the brighter side of history when it comes to NFL legends' children. Devin Kennedy. When you hear that Devin Kennedy, a three-star defensive lineman from Brophy Prep in Phoenix, signed with Iowa in December 2023, you might assume he's been playing football since he could walk, especially considering his father, Jimmy Kennedy, was a first-round NFL draft pick in 2003 after a standout career at Penn State. But here's the twist. Devin is still relatively new to the game. Heading into his freshman year at Iowa, Kennedy will be playing just his third year of organized football, but his rapid development was impossible to ignore. The numbers tell the story. As a junior, he had just 12 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, and 1.5 sacks. Fast forward to his senior season, and he exploded with 49 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 18 QB hurries. That's a massive leap in production. Kennedy plays a hybrid role between defensive end and defensive tackle, rocking the number 91 jersey. With his growing frame, relentless motor, and clear upside, Iowa's coaching staff saw the potential and didn't hesitate to offer him a scholarship. He had plenty of other options too, picking the Hawkeyes over Penn State, Illinois, and Oregon State. But now he's heading to Iowa City to begin his career. We have another prodigy who has made her impact in another field beyond sports. Rachel Bradshaw. Former Pittsburgh Steelers player Terry Bradshaw's eldest daughter graduated from Belmont University in Nashville before diving headfirst into country music. She's no stranger to the spotlight, having appeared on the Bradshaw Bunch and the short-lived 2007 Fox reality series Nashville. Her talent even landed her on the field of her dad's former team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, where she sang the national anthem at a home game in 2011. But football wasn't just part of her life because of Terry. In June 2014, Rachel married Rob Barone, the Tennessee Titans' legendary kicker. Tragically, just 3 months later, Rob was killed in a car accident after being reportedly drunk. Losing him shattered Rachel. She stopped singing altogether, overwhelmed by grief. Her father, Terry, worried she'd regret letting go of her passion, and with his encouragement, Rachel slowly found her way back to music. One of her big moments was performing a father-daughter duet with Terry at the Grand Ole Opry, an emotional milestone that was featured on their family's reality show. In January 2022, she released her self-titled debut EP, calling it A Big Piece of My Heart and Soul. Later that year, love found its way back into her life. She got engaged to Chase Libbert after 10 months of dating, sharing the news with an overjoyed "yes, yes, yes, yes" on Instagram. Then, on March 25, 2023, Rachel and Chase tied the knot at the Denton Country Club in Texas, surrounded by 300 guests. Next, we have Bryant Young's son, who had definitely made his father proud with his career choice. Bryce Young. This young player is making waves as a freshman defensive lineman for Notre Dame, but football has always been in his blood. He's the son of Bryant Young, a former Notre Dame All-American and NFL Hall of Famer who dominated the trenches for 14 seasons with the San Francisco 49ers. His dad wasn't just an elite player, he also spent time coaching defensive linemen at San Jose State, Florida, and the Atlanta Falcons. Despite having a football legend for a father, Bryce's journey has been uniquely his own. Coming out of Charlotte Christian High School, he was a dominant force on defense, racking up 97 tackles, 14 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 3 fumble recoveries as a senior. Over his high school career, he totaled 191 tackles, 24 tackles for loss, and 17 sacks, proving why he was one of the top defensive prospects in the country. He was rated a 4-star recruit and named the numbered 1 player in North Carolina for the 2023 class. Standing at 6'7", Bryce had plenty of options when it came to college. Schools like Penn State, Stanford, USC, and Georgia Tech were all vying for him, but in the end, Notre Dame felt like home. And let's be honest, with his dad's legacy, it just made sense. Now in his freshman season, Bryce is already making an impact. He's played in all 15 games for the Fighting Irish, contributing both on defense and special teams. He's recorded 16 tackles, 2.0 tackles for loss, and 0.5 sacks, but where he's really stood out is special teams, blocking 3 kicks, which ties him for second most in the nation this season. His first career sack came against Florida State, and it's just the beginning of what's shaping up to be an exciting career at Notre Dame. Then, we have another who made the list of those who followed their father's footstep, only with bold, outspoken twists. Thaddius Moss. Like his father Randy Moss, Thaddius Moss has made a name for himself in football. He played as a tight end in college at North Carolina State University and Louisiana State University, LSU. After going undrafted in the NFL, he had short stints with the Washington football team and the Cincinnati Bengals. He later played in the minor leagues, including for the Birmingham Stallions and the Hamilton Tiger Cats in Canada. Earlier this year, he officially retired from professional football, but before his retirement, he once berated Larry Fitzgerald Sr., a journalist and father of NFL star Larry Fitzgerald, for posting the news of his father's liver cancer on X. Now, Thaddius seems to be focused on a new path. He is currently involved with All-Pro Scouting, a platform co-founded by NFL Hall of Famers like Marshall Faulk and Warren Moon to help young athletes get noticed. He has been actively promoting the platform on his Instagram. Speaking of those who followed their father's path to the core, Jonathan Goodwin's son is one. Channing Goodwin. In 2023, the Michigan Wolverines strengthened their #1 ranked recruiting class with the commitment of Channing Goodwin, a 3-star wide receiver from the 2024 class. Goodwin played a key role in Providence Day's state championship win in North Carolina in 2023, alongside Jaden Davis, a fellow Michigan commit, and 2 more top targets, Jordan Shipp and David Sanders. But even without his high school quarterback heading to Michigan, Goodwin already had deep ties to the program. His father, Jonathan Goodwin, was a Wolverine offensive lineman, and his uncle Harold Goodwin also played for the team. Standing 6'1" and 165 pounds, Goodwin chose Michigan over offers from Georgia Tech, Kentucky, Louisville, NC State, Pitt, South Carolina, UNC, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, and West Virginia. Last season, he racked up 68 receptions for 962 yards and 15 touchdowns, according to Max Preps. He is currently ranked number 509 nationally and number 72 among wide receivers. Goodwin is the first WR to join Michigan's 2024 class and the 16th overall commitment in the class. Similar to Goodwin's son, former 49ers player Tariq Owens' son also carried on his family legacy in the NFL world. Tariq Owens. Tariq is the son of Pro Football Hall of Famer Terrell Owens, who signed with his father's first team, 49ers, as an undrafted free agent in April 2024. Despite being a long shot to make the roster, Owens showed promise in training camp, making plays in 1-on-1 and 11-on-11 drills. However, his time with the team was short-lived. Just 3 months later, the 49ers waived him due to a hand injury, which was expected to sideline him for 5 to 7 weeks and would have given him a place on the 49ers injured reserve. However, not long after recovering from his injury, he was redrafted by the 49ers in October 2024, giving him another shot to prove himself at the professional level. Owens had a unique college journey, starting at Contra Costa College in 2018, before transferring to Florida Atlantic in 2020, and then Missouri State in 2021-2023, where he played 27 games over 3 seasons. His father, Terrell, had a legendary 15-season NFL career, primarily with the 49ers, where he ranks second in franchise history behind Jerry Rice in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns. Terrell was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2018 and the 49ers Hall of Fame in 2019. Now, let's shift our focus to professional quarterback Tom Brady's son, whose life is under intense pressure because of his father's legendary status. Benjamin Brady. Back in 2011, Brady's then 2-year-old son, Benjamin, was embroiled in a controversy when a website named Barstool Sports posted an inappropriate photo of a 2-year-old Benjamin. The Massachusetts Attorney General at the time, Martha Coakley, called the post troubling and inappropriate, but decided not to pursue legal action. The website removed the post after officials requested it. Fast forward to 2023, and Benjamin, now 13, was dealing with a different kind of attention: bullying in Boston for not wanting to play football like his father. While his older half-brother Jack has embraced the sport, even playing quarterback in high school, Benjamin prefers non-traditional sports like surfing, jiu-jitsu, and skiing. He also enjoys drawing on his iPad, a big contrast to the expectations placed on him as the son of one of the greatest quarterbacks in history. Brady's wife, Giselle, opened up about Benjamin's struggles in a Vanity Fair interview, sharing that after one of Benjamin's baseball games, he was bullied, though she didn't go into details. Even Tom Brady admitted that at first he expected Benjamin to follow in his footsteps, but his wife, Giselle, helped him understand that Benjamin had different interests, and Brady eventually embraced them. Now, instead of trying to push football, Brady supports whatever Benjamin loves, saying, "When we do that, we have the best time." Next, we have Devon Bush's son, who seems to have befriended controversy. Devon Bush Jr. Devon's Jr. His father, Devon Bush Sr., was an NFL defensive back who played for 8 seasons, finishing his career with the Cleveland Browns. With a father who lived and breathed football, it's no surprise that Devon Bush Jr. became a star at Michigan, then went on to play in the NFL. But while his father's career was defined by championships, Bush Jr.'s journey has been more about controversy and unpredictability. Back in 2018, while at Michigan, he made headlines for digging up Michigan State's midfield logo with his cleats before a game. The move was in response to MSNBC LSU's pre-game walk, which Bush and Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh saw as disrespectful. In 2022, the linebacker tweeted about how he wasn't a fan of TikTok, calling out grown men who actively use the app. Given that the Steelers have multiple players who embrace TikTok to build their brand, the tweet stirred up drama, but things only escalated. A few days later, Bush posted a disturbing video of a cat falling several stories, shocking fans. Many expected the Steelers to intervene, and Bush later admitted that fans had gotten him in trouble. Soon after, he tweeted that he was now limited to just 2 tweets a day, which he quickly ignored, posting 9 times. Just like Devin Jr., former Cleveland Browns linebacker Klay Matthews' son has also made a name for himself for his outspoken and often controversial takes. Klay Matthews III. He is more than just the son of Klay Matthews Jr. He built his own legacy as one of the NFL's most dominant linebackers. Playing for the Green Bay Packers and later the Los Angeles Rams, Matthews was a 6-time Pro Bowler and helped lead the Packers to victory in Super Bowl XLV. Known for his relentless pass rush and high-energy play style, he became a fan favorite in Green Bay. However, his aggressive style also led to controversies. In 2019, Matthews didn't hold back after watching the controversial Packers vs. Lions game on Monday Night Football in 2019. The Los Angeles Rams linebacker took to social media to criticize NFL officials for their questionable calls, especially the 2 illegal hands to the face penalties on Lions defensive end Trey Flowers. These penalties directly impacted the game's outcome, extending a drive that led to a Packers touchdown and later setting up the game-winning field goal. Matthews, no stranger to officiating controversies, expressed his frustration online, which led the NFL to fine him $12,500 for his comments. The situation further fueled the debate over officiating inconsistencies and the league's handling of roughing the passer and defensive penalties. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.